Hey, Julie, happy Tuesday.
Happy Tuesday,
What was yesterday?
Memorial Day.
Yep. So today's title is For Our Freedoms. Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Prime Podcast. I am your host, Dr. Skip Weiss, the Bowtie Chiropractor. No bow tie today, but that's just how it goes sometimes. I am with my beautiful co-host, Dr. Julie Weiss, the Fairy Fingers. How are you today? Everything going good?
I'm great.
Yeah, did you have a good Memorial Day?
It was good.
Yeah, and I had a wonderful Memorial Day weekend. It was fantastic to be with my family, with you, with the kids. We had some golf. We had some major time of reflection as to what Memorial Day is all about. And Dr. Julie, what is Memorial Day all about to you?
Freedom. I'm very grateful for our freedoms, remembering our veterans, our soldiers that are currently serving, just everything of what the country stands for.
Yeah, and I think Memorial Day is one of those things where we look back on all of the soldiers and people that have laid down their lives and died for our freedoms, died for our country. Um, there's no greater sacrifice than a man who's willing to lay down his life, man or woman, in defense of other people's freedoms. And Memorial Day that's what it's all about. And yesterday, a lot of people had a lot of barbecues, a lot of people had a lot of cookouts, ate probably way too many calories, and just celebrated and had a good time with their friends and families. And I hope that yesterday you took some time out of your day to think and reflect about all the sacrifices that were made to enjoy the freedoms that you have in this country, and the freedoms that we have, from medical freedom to medical choice to healthcare to religious freedoms to the ability to just kind of do what we want without persecution or thought that we're going to get locked up from our government or anything like that, which doesn't exist in other countries. And a lot of our vets that we get to see here at Prime Family Chiropractic Centers talked about this, where things are totally different in other countries. Things are way, way, way worse than what we have here in the United States, as far as persecution, religious persecution, persecution of beliefs, the ability to not have your head covered, to wear whatever clothes you want, to be able to speak out, to enjoy the freedoms of speaking your mind and honoring the Constitution of the United States, but more importantly, allowing you to do that stuff. And the men and women of this country that have laid down their lives since 1776, since the start of the United States of America, when we decided to no longer be part of the British and fought against the British Parliament and Empire and country to gain our freedoms. And from 1776, it's in honor of all of that, and the men and women that have died and laid down their life through the Civil War, through World War I, World War II, Korea, Vietnam, the Gulf conflict, and now the last 20 years over another Gulf conflict since 9/11. And these men and women that have passed away. And so what we did is, what was one thing pretty amazingly special that I think we've done in our office, and that I encourage all service providers to do, is to start a charity to take care of the vets and the men and women that have laid their life down in our country, and to honor them by taking care of people at little to no cost, if not honorary fees. And what have we done here? What have we found?
We have a nonprofit.
Yeah, and what is its name?
The Spine Project.
Yep, and what is it all about?
So through the Spine Project, that allows us to be able to care for our veterans, our active duty service men and women, and we offer them either no cost care within our office, or care for the family at a reduced fee. And that allows them to get chiropractic care. We found that those struggling with PTSD, the emotional support, the mental well-being, there's so much more that goes into when somebody just says, oh, you're seeing a chiropractor. So we focus on the whole individual, but that is what has allowed us to be able to give back, because we haven't served, to be able to serve our veterans and military.
Now, if I remember, you were telling me early on in your life that you were thinking about going into the service.
It
You
was.
really were. Yeah. And where were you really thinking about going?
I was ready to be enlisted to join the Navy. My thought process was I would be able to go and serve, and they have the restitution that then I could start my schooling to still go into chiropractic. But I wasn't 18, and
Mm,
so I had to have my parents sign off on that, and we had the sergeant actually come to our house, and we had everything ready to go, and my mom wouldn't sign the paperwork.
okay. So yeah, I've heard you tell that story before, and I think that that is something that's still in your heart. It kind of bothers you that you didn't get a chance to do that. But I also see that the changes you've made and the ability to help out as much as we possibly can the men and women that have been in our military that come into our office that you're able to give back as much as you
They were
can,
just serving in a different way.
serving in a different way, right? And I think that that's amazing that you had that choice, that you actively want to do that. I didn't get a chance to. I tore my knee up in high school, and it wouldn't have happened regardless. But my classmates went, and I had some pretty amazing people in my lifetime go and serve, and that's why I do what I do, and what fills me up is being able to honor them. All of my friends that served and fought in the Gulf War, they all survived. Um, they have, and some of my best and closest friends still actively serve in the military, the National Guard, the Navy, the Marines. They're somewhere in the Army, some are Delta Force. Like they're all over the place, and I believe that 2000 generation is another generation that came out of that some would say the millennials. The millennials have guarded this country now for the last 20 years. They really have. And I think it's another amazing generation, just as generations that have come before us, from the baby boomers that fought in Vietnam, and now up through the first Persian Gulf, the first Gulf conflict, back in the 90s with President Bush, George Bush, the first, the oldest, the older one, right? But the ability to give back. And Palmer College of Chiropractic, where we graduated from, actually takes care of military veterans at no cost. And we knew coming out of school that that was something that we wanted to do. For 15 years, we've taken care of vets at honorary fee, taking care of their families at reduced rates through, and then finally got the 501c3 status started for the Spine Project about 6 years ago, correct?
Mhm.
And that has allowed us to, I mean, you can drop some of the numbers, but how much service have we've been able to donate and help
We are just shy of, for 2023, we're just shy of $1 million
in the last six
in
years,
the last
which is
6 years.
incredible. And I remember I was talking to a classmate a few years back from Palmer College, and he had asked, I challenged him to take care of at least one vet at no cost, and he looked me right in the eye and said, "I just can't afford to do that." And I'm going to tell you right now, yes, you can. Anybody that's in a service profession, anybody that does things outside of, you don't have to do healthcare, but just serve people. The vets need our care. The military needs our care. They need our help. They laid their life down for you, and because of them, you have the ability to speak your mind, do what you want, peacefully protest. You have the right to assemble. You have the right to bear arms. You have the right to do basically almost anything you want besides break the law because of these men and women. And the little things that we can do is at least take care of them the best that we possibly can with our time, our talents, and our treasures, whether it's donating our time, donating money, donating treasures, or just taking time to listen and mentor and help these men out and these women out. I go back to some of the stories that have come out of the Spine Project. And when we first did this, y'all need to understand that the Spine Project was set up to help vets, but also to help out their families and their children, right? And just because the vets deployed doesn't, the active service member is deployed, doesn't mean that the family's not deployed.
That is the biggest struggle, that, when you lose a member of the family, the rest of the family's still there. And so they may not be in physical active combat,
Mm-hmm.
but there's still the PTSD. There's still that they're missing that other counterpart to their family. And so that's where the emotional well being, the social well being, just being able to be surrounded with a foundation, a community that actually, wants to support them. And that is the ability that we've been able to serve to give to these families, and also a solace for that soldier that is away, to know that their family is being cared for and their
Yep.
family is being taken care of.
Less stress on the soldier as
Yes.
when him or her are deployed, and less stress on the family on the home front as well, because the stress is always there, whether they're in. And I think I've had vets come back, and this isn't a think thing for me, it came out wrong, but I know vets have come back and said, I think it was harder on my family with me being gone than with me actively being over there in service, because I knew everything that was going on. I had control of the entire situation of myself, my well-being, to a point. I had my brothers and my sisters alongside of me, honoring me, protecting me, knowing that one had my front and one had my back. But my family didn't know that. My family just had to know from day to day if I was okay, and being able to check in, write letters.
And many times they can't check in. And so
Right.
there is that lack of communication. So at least that's where, through the Spine Project, we are able to give that community, that foundation.
Hmm.
And because we see so many veteran families, soldier families, it allowed them to be able to circle around each other and have that community that they weren't going through it alone.
Exactly, and to be able to provide that sense of solace for them. But then, like, we've dealt with this too, where having been under this now for 15 years, and even in the last 6, seeing active deployments happen in families now, being from Northeast Wisconsin, National Guard and the Army are still getting deployed. Whether they're going into Afghanistan, whether they're going into Baghdad, Iraq, like, they're going all over the Middle East still. They're still going to Africa. They're still getting deployed and put in Germany. They're still getting put in South Korea. They're still getting sent to Japan. Like, there's areas of, just because it's not active conflict doesn't mean that they're still not there.
They're still missing a piece of the family.
Mhm.
Right. And
Mhm.
it's just, and I think what comes to mind first is like maybe a husband and wife and children, but it's also, if that person is single, it's, they come from a family as well. And so
Yep.
it's that support that goes all the way up the chain to be able to let everybody know that, we'll take care of you while you're gone. We can help with that communication, we can help with that transition. And it's also when that soldier comes back, it's that transition back into civilian life. Like
Mhm.
we've had some that have been just for a few months. We have another soldier that's leaving and he may be for 2 to 3 years.
Yep.
So many things change, and that is the biggest struggle.
Some have
you know
babies while they're gone. Like, their
so many
family
the
expands.
dynamic
Mhm.
changes, and it's the I think the first stressor is, well, is that person going to come back?
Yep.
And then once we breach that first, that hurdle, then it's, well, now how do we integrate back into society? How do I integrate back into my family if when I left, that my baby was 6 months,
Or
eight
wasn't
months
here yet.
9 months, they never had that relationship,
Mhm.
and all of a sudden you come back and that child is 3 years old, 5 years old, and it's like a stranger
Mhm.
being introduced.
Mhm.
And so it's to be able to be that support that entire time. That's what's really amazing.
I think, yeah, it's absolutely incredible, and it's been a complete blessing to be able to do this. How can people that are listening, and we've had this all the time, how can other people in our community actually help out with the Spine Project? What can they do? How can they help us? How can they help us continue this on? Because ultimately, one of our massive goals is to get this nationwide, get it in every state, to get chiropractic care to as many service veterans and families as we possibly can, or the families that have lost loved ones, to still be able to help them get the care that they need. How is the best way for people to actually help us out?
Monetary support is always, bottom line. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's really what it is. And I always make sure that we try to really state that those funds that come in directly goes back to patient care. So
Does.
there's nobody on a wage. It doesn't go out to like some of the other larger
The
charities where
administrative
it's
costs
going
are
to
way aren't there.
administrative. It is strictly goes back into caring for that soldier. And, we hold vets. We hold events.
Mm-hmm.
And so every year for us here locally, we hold a very large fundraiser called Golf for a Vet. That's coming up in July 24th. And so sponsorships for that is always really, really important. Yeah, the benefit on the other side, yes, you get awareness of if you have a business or a company, but it also really, gives that, it shows your support. It gives back to that veteran, that, maybe you're getting some awareness for who you are, but even if you don't want that, it's it's helping that soldier's family.
Hmm.
It's helping that soldier. It's helping from recovery. I mean, the soldiers that come back with like the stories that we have heard
Oh yeah.
based off of the impact that these soldiers of what they have gone through, of
Hmm.
marriages that have been saved, like we've, the suicide phone calls that,
Hmm.
thank God that you picked up the phone because, in about 2 hours I was planning to go up to the bridge.
Hmm.
Just that impact. And when it's not a pat on our back that we did this, it
Mm-mm.
was just that the opportunity was there to be able to reach out to these soldiers, to reach out to these veterans, to let them know that, hey, somebody does care. Somebody bigger than you is in control. And so that's where that monetary support really goes to help that soldier, help that family. It impacts our community because if that soldier can come back and then feel like they can be integrated back into the community,
Hmm.
that allows them to be able to support their family, to go back into the workforce. That soldier, potentially, like whatever they've been trained in, can have a
Massive
massive,
impact.
massive impact within the
Hmm.
community, and to be able to support other local charities, other veterans that are maybe going through the same thing. And that's with our golf outing, we also partner with Guitars for Vets.
Hmm.
And so they come, to support us in our mission, but their mission is just as big as
Yep.
that. One of the other healing things is music,
Therapy
and
through instruments.
therapy changes lives.
Hmm.
And so they're always looking for musical instrument donations. And that charity then, they help soldiers go back through, the PTSD, the emotional, the mental well-being, and just through the work with music. And so they teach these soldiers how to play musical instruments. And so, for them, they can't go and buy those instruments, and so they're always looking for donations. We're hooked up with other charities as well, and so it's once you start to meet one soldier, it impacts all the other veteran nonprofits, all the other veteran charities. And the impact is, while we're looking at right now here in our Green Bay community, but it's ripples, it's waves, because
Hmm.
if we've started with some of our soldiers, many times they get deployed. And so we get that phone call of, where can I go? Where can I, receive support after, I come back from deployment and they're in a different state.
Hmm.
And so that's that shout out to others, that we want to get the Spine Project set up in other clinics in other states. But again, that comes down to a foundation of support, and
Hmm.
that's donor support. That's having those funds to be able to, if it's finding a space for that clinic to be, if it's, just a small room, but there has to be part of that financial cost up front just to be able to have those doors open and then to be able to serve.
So what's the best? What's the best? I feel like I'm interviewing you, but what are, because you? I mean, you run it. Like you're the president of the Spine Project, and I'm not. I actually work with and for and do everything I can to help vets out when they're in with me. And you're the one that actually runs the whole thing, the whole spiel with your board. So what's the best way for anybody that wants to donate or help out? Where can they find the
You
information?
can find us on the website, thespineproject.org. So that always lists all of our upcoming events. Checks to the Spine Project. Again, we try to keep operating costs super, super low. And so Venmo is what we, really use for any of those donations that want to come through. But again, cash and check, because then we're not, cutting into any of those management fees that lots of processors typically take from that. But so that monetary, but also we need volunteers.
Hmm.
We need people that want to actually help get the word out about the Spine Project and what our mission is. So, like, if you don't come from that financial background, it's like, hey, I'm really good with social media, or you know what, I have time, or I need to, do so many service hours. That's what we need. We just need bodies to be able to make this mission that much bigger, for all of us to want to come together and to be able to serve.
And love on these men and women. Love on
Absolutely.
them. Show them the love that they deserve. Because let's be honest, when they come back, they may not feel like they're a part of anything anymore. They may have lost everything. They've been systematically trained to take care of human life differently than when they're back home, and then to try to reintegrate. But the thing that I like to see and hear that just absolutely befuddles me are the stories of change. The ability of these vets to be able to pick up their children, hug their children, hold their kids, be able to birth children when when they're back in society, when they're back with their husbands and wives and their spouses, and they decide to expand their families, and everything's changed in them. Their migraines are gone, their headaches are gone, their low back pain's changed, their leg pain has changed, because biomechanically everything changes when they're deployed. They're running around with 75 to 100 pounds strapped to their back. They've got Kevlar vests on. They have full battle rattles with full. I mean, they have everything. And I take care of patients right now. I take care of a man. He jumped from 14 feet in the air with a fully loaded 50 cal to survive off of a building when it was getting blown up. Messed his back up, got back in the AMRAP, and they took off. But he didn't realize he had literally destroyed his back jumping off that building to save his life. Well, now he's got 2 kids. He's a construction worker. He needs the ability to move, to supply, to support his family, continue to support, even when he's not overseas, but home now, and be able to do everything and he can. And we go back to some of the women that we've taken care of with their ability to take care of children, to cope, to not have the stress, the anxiety, the headaches, the migraines that debilitate them from being an amazing mother. And that kills moms when they lose their patience with their children or their spouses, because they can't be the compassionate, loving side that they know that they want to be.
And that's the type of care that, that happens, is
Mm-hmm.
that, we can talk about the pain and, making those things better. But when you come from a brain function, when you
Mm-hmm.
came from a functional approach, that's where we're impacting the brain.
We
And so
impact it right here.
we can start to unravel lots of that PTSD,
Mm-hmm.
lots of that, when you're told that, like no emotion, or like we've seen some like SOCOM, some like the toughest interrogators, that are sent overseas, and to be able to start to kind of chip away for them to finally be able to open up. Like that's not like I have a back pain or I have a headache type of a thing. That is the psychosocial, that is the mental well-being, that is the emotional side of it, to be able to allow them a safe space, no judgments, for them to finally be themselves and allow themselves to heal. And that's what the Spine Project has been able to do.
So we look back on this, and we've started all this. We kind of come full circle with Memorial Day and honoring the vets and the fallen that have allowed us to preserve our freedoms, and then actually honoring the people, the vets that are still alive, that are still still preserving our freedoms and still actively fighting for us every day. If you want to help us out, you can always go to www.thespineproject.org. You can sponsor vets, you can sponsor families, you can make donations, you can volunteer hours. You can help us spread our cause by just sharing this, commenting below, subscribing, and actually helping us share this episode to get the word out, to help more and more people. Remember, there are tons of amazing charities to donate to. There are. And I would always urge you to donate to the one that completely resonates with your heart. It makes you feel amazing when you give to it, and know that the money you're giving is going to directly support the people that it's supposed to benefit. That's the key. And there's so many amazing ones, and we just appreciate the time that people have taken to help volunteer, help donate, and just be a part of what we've tried to start as a chiropractic-based military charity to help these men and women and their families and their children. And it's been an absolute honor to serve alongside of you and to watch you build this, and then to be able to service and take care of these vets and their families, and see the hugs and the laughter and the smiles and the marriages that have been saved, and the alcoholism that's left, and the fact that these men and women want to commit suicide and they don't. Like, all of this stuff that changes, because 22 vets a day taking their lives is just not okay with me. Vets being homeless, vets not being able to work, and the alcoholism and the drug use, and all of that needs to change. And the only way to change it is to actually provide support, provide love, and provide the ability of the body to get back to healing like it's supposed to reduce the anxiety that's on the inside of the body, so it does what it's meant to do. It's God-given ability to heal, and then love on each other, and love on the man that's next to them and the woman that's next to them. So with a happy heart, with tons of joy and gratitude, I thank you guys so much for listening to this episode. This one was near and dear to Julie and I's heart, and this is super, super special for both of us. And thank you so much for listening. Now go out there, get it done. Have a great day. Enjoy the rest of the week. Let's get after it. Bye, everyone.